B'Shem Hashem na'aseh v'natzliach, Shavua Tov, Shavua Mevorach. We're continuing our series of the Jewish HaShkafa, the Jewish ideology, certainly relevant to everyone in this generation, needless to say, to people that are in the process of doing tshuva, or people that are more modern or influenced by society, and of course, anyone that wants to learn MUSSAR from some of the greats of the previous generation, such as the Chazon Ish. Alav Shalom. So tonight's shiur will be for Ilui Nishmat Moshe ben Chaim and Sarah bat Berel, and also for the Avigdor for Refuah Shlema for Rabbanit Levana bat Sarah, Rav Ephraim ben Shulamit, Rabbanit Sarah bat Anat, Rachel bat Shulamit, and also a big Mazal Tov to Rachel bat Shulamit and her dear husband Yochanan for having a new boy. Baruch Hashem, may they raise him with tzlacha to be a Talmid Chacham, a tzadik, kadosh, Bezrat Hashem, and to bring light to the world, Bezrat Hashem. Also for tzlacha rabba for Marsa bat Julie, and all of Am Yisrael, all of the righteous Noahis that continue to contribute, continue to watch our shiurim, continue to do everything they can to share these shiurim with as many people as possible, both when it's live as well as when it's out there as on YouTube and on our app and everything else. Reminder for everybody, the best way to watch our shiurim, whether it be live or otherwise, is through our BeEzrat Hashem app. Go to the BeEzrat Hashem app on the App Store, Google, or the Apple. Download the app. It's the best way to watch the shiur. Soon we'll actually have also the questions available on it as well, but that's going to take a little more time. Also, as an update, for any of you that follow us closely, you saw the notice today that unfortunately we have to postpone the New York trip. We're not sure what the future date's going to be, whether it'll be in a month later or 2 months later. Bezrat Hashem, once we get the invitations from different places to coordinate with each other, where there's going to be enough events for us to come, Bezrat Hashem, we will be happy to come. Lastly, for anyone that watched the new trailer, the trailer number 2 of the new Gehinnom movie, I'm sure you're shocked and excited. There's going to be one more trailer released, Bezrat Hashem, next week, before the release of the movie, which should be, Bezrat Hashem, in the middle of next month. Probably around the time that I was supposed to be in New York, around the middle of the month, maybe sooner, maybe later, give or take. But anyone that wants to have the opportunity to have their name in the actual movie itself, either in the credits or even in the front of the movie, now is the last opportunity. This week is the last opportunity to do so. You go to the website Gehinnom.com, and over there is different packages available for anyone that wants to contribute and be part of it. Even if you're not able to do some of the bigger things, certainly everyone can do some of the smaller things and contribute. Remember that this is unlike any other mitzvah you're ever going to have an opportunity to be involved in, whether it's with us or with anybody else, simply because there is no other movie like this out there. Not in Hebrew, not in English, not in any language. And Bezrat Hashem, we're looking forward for other people to copy and do the same thing and publicize the important teachings about Gehinnom. But I don't think that anything will ever be quite like this. Just simply something you'll have to see to believe. So, with that being said, we have, Baruch Hashem, our extraordinary series by the Chazon Ish, the Jewish ideology, and what better time is there to learn about what is the right HaShkafa, what is the right ideology, other than the week of the holidays of the goyim, where you have now the holidays of the goyim are rampant, lehavdi milyon avdalot, like we have our high holidays of Rosh Hashanah and Sukkot and Yom Kippur and the rest of the extraordinary and beautiful and holy holidays. Lehavdil milyon avdalot, a million times different, they have their holidays where they have their avodah zarah celebrated one after another, whether it be the Halloween, the holiday where everyone has to pretend that ghosts and demons are a good thing, or they have their massacre holiday that's coming up this week, that's called Thanksgiving. Ironically, the same holiday they massacred millions of people, they celebrate as Thanksgiving. Or they have their idols holiday in December that everybody's familiar with, which I don't even want to say the name. But the key is to understand that these holidays are very, very important for us to know. Why? Because you need to know what Chukot hagoyim are. What are the laws of the Gentiles and what you're not allowed to do. So, of course, in Western society, and especially here in America, it's become I'm not really sure how and exactly who started this whole thing, but it's become a very common custom among Jewish households to celebrate Thanksgiving as if it is a neutral, non-religious holiday. Now, we've had several times that we've discussed this whole issue about Thanksgiving, not being a holiday that a person is supposed to celebrate. But of course, there's always people that either don't watch it or forget, or they think they're going to bring us some type of news source that they found under the blanket or they saw on the internet. Perhaps, maybe we'd reconsider. Well, Rav Avigdor Miller is quoted saying that the holiday of Thanksgiving is in fact a religious holiday, because even if you look it up in a dictionary, which in those days was still in books, today it's on the internet, you'd actually see that the goyim themselves say that this particular day of Thanksgiving is a day you're supposed to go to church. So the roots of this holiday are indeed religious. But needless to say, even if you remove that for a moment, it's still forbidden for a Jew to celebrate this holiday like people do today. And what do I mean like people do today? Someone brought the leniency, if you want to call it a leniency, by Rav Moshe Feinstein, alav shalom, one of the giants among giants. Moshe ad Moshe lo haya ke Moshe. He was from Moshe Rabbeinu to Moshe the Rambam to Moshe Rav Moshe Feinstein. There was no one else like these giants. And Rav Moshe Feinstein, when he was asked about this Thanksgiving again in his day, he said, if you do it once in your life in a non-religious fashion, then this is something that can pass, meaning it's not a problem. But he never gave a heksher on Thanksgiving for anyone to celebrate it on an annual basis. That would actually turn it into a chok, what's called a chok, which is in essence a new decree, which is not only adding to the Torah, but it's also chukot hagoyim, which is a following the laws of the goyim, of the Gentiles, which is forbidden for a Jew. So now if a Gentile wants to eat turkey on Thursday afternoon with his family watching football, by all means, enjoy it. It's the best of all the idolatrous holidays. At least there's no tree in the middle. But if a Jew wants to do it, if they've already done it once in their life, there is no permission whatsoever for them to do it according to anybody's opinion. Not Rav Moshe Feinstein or not anyone else. But again, people will always look for an excuse to justify their sins, and suddenly they become halachically meticulous, halachically fanatic. Suddenly they know the laws, or they think they do. And again, this has everything to do with our shiur. Why? Because when a person truly learns halacha and they learn the laws, the emotions are removed, because now they know what's right and what's wrong and where they're supposed to go and where not. The same applies in every other aspect of halacha, whether it's the Thanksgiving nonsense that's in people's minds today, or it's wasting seed, or it's Shabbat, or it's nidah, or it's family purity, or it's a modesty, or any other law out there. A person needs to know that if you want to follow the way of HaShem, you have to remove your emotions. So long as you're emotional, you're not going to make the right decisions. Needless to say, you're going to be living a very sinful life. Now, that's what the Chazon Ish has chosen to speak about. Anyone actually still believe in coincidences when we watched the Shiurim for so many years? This is exactly what the Chazon Ish is talking about this week, right now. In chapter 4, section 8, the Chazon Ish says exactly what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to read it off so everyone knows. ואומנם ההרגל בדקדוק הדין נגד מידותיו הטבעיות ונגד נטיותיו בתולדתו, מרגילין אותו לשום את שבט מושלים בכף התבונה ואת הרסן ביד השכל, ומגבירים בליבו ההכרה התמידית להיכנע לרגש הפנימי ולמצפון האציל. ומכשרתו על להיות איש הרוח ומכירתו מן הגסות תכלית הריחוק. Up to here is the section we're going to read. This section is a little longer, but we're going to read this particular first paragraph. And last week, just to remind everybody, we talked about, in essence, the importance of observing halacha, importance of learning mussar, knowing that one cannot live without the other. They must coexist. If you learn halacha, but you don't learn mussar, then you're going to be a crazy person that's going to be meticulous in the wrong places. If you learn mussar, but you don't learn halacha, then you're just simply going to hate everybody because you're going to think that you're the most righteous person in the world, even though you're violating much more laws than they are. So it's important for a person to know that they have to work on their character traits by learning mussar, but the best way to work on the character traits is by learning halacha and fulfilling the halacha itself, and to be very specific about halacha itself. And now, in essence, what the Chazon Ish is doing is continuing to build on that foundation. And he says the following: when a man gets accustomed to being meticulous in the observance of halacha, in oppositions to his natural and inborn tendencies, this accustoms him to have his deep understanding rule and his intellect control him. It enhances his constant awareness of the importance of submitting to his inner sense and elevated conscience, and trains him to be a spiritual person, distancing him completely from coarseness. See, here the Chazon Ish is telling us a whole lot of things. We're going to break it up one line after another to truly understand the beauty of the words that the Chazon Ish is choosing here to try to teach us how to stop being animals. Now, the Chazon Ish is saying that when a person is accustoming themselves, person learns Torah, learns mitzvot, learns all the things that they need to do. She's learning the things that she needs to do. She's not going to use the excuse, oh, listen, women are not obligated to learn Torah, so, all I do is I just watch Shiurim whenever I have time. That's not going to fly in Shamayim. Why? Because if you don't learn the basic laws that you are responsible for, such as the laws of Shabbat, the laws of modesty, the laws of the holidays, the laws of kashrut, all of these different laws that are pertaining to you, guess what? Your, things that you're doing may be nice, but you're not going to know what you're doing when the time counts. And when does the time count? When all hell fails, everything goes wrong. Shabbat, one of the kids turns off the light exactly where the dinner is supposed to be. What do? Hint, nothing. But if, let's say, for example, one of the kids turns on the hot water, what do? If one of the kids turns off or turns on one of the things, the stove, the oven, or something else, what do you do with these things? Naturally, you're going to say, I remove the danger, I increase the convenience, I'm having guests. This is the natural inclination of every person. But you have to know what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. And you cannot use your emotions when it comes to these very difficult decisions. And the reason why is because your emotions will lie to you. They will mislead you. And that's one of the tools that Satan will use most often. The same goes with guys when it comes to difficult tests that they have. They have a very big customer in front of them. This customer is a complete ignoramus, complete fool. He's willing to pay you 10 times the price that you sell this product to everyone else on planet Earth. He doesn't know, he doesn't care, he's just put an extra zero because he's so rich and stupid that he's just willing to pay you this money. Are you allowed to take this money? If he's a Jew, if he's a Gentile, does it make a difference? These are things that obviously affect your pocket, affect your net worth, affect whether you're able to buy the house or pay the mortgage or pay the rent. Does it make a difference if you're poor? Does it make a difference if you're rich? Does it make a difference if you're struggling, but just now and you're going to pay it back? Do all of these things make a difference? The truth is that if you don't learn halacha and mussar, you are guaranteed to make the wrong choices in all of these particular things. Needless to say, this also goes for all of the young people and older people that are struggling with the issues of immorality. Immorality is something that is unfortunately running rampant in society today, whether it's immorality where people are cheating on their wives, cheating on their husbands, they have a second wife, a second husband, a second boyfriend, a secretary, or some other Amalek that's looking to destroy their life and take their money. Whatever it is,
People have these things, and the divorce rates are only increasing. If they were a stock, I would tell everybody to put all of their money in it because it's guaranteed good results, unfortunately. On the same token, people are also putting themselves off the street, off the market, where they simply don't want to get married. They have the excuse where I can't find the right one. Lady, you're 40 years old. What right one? Just take anyone. What right one? Oh, I can't find the right one, Rabbi. What, you can't find the right one? You're 35, 40 years old. What right one? Just get any Jewish girl that's willing to marry you. What right one? What are you talking about? How can you live 35 years without sinning? Oh, Rabbi, I try. Try? Do you understand what kind of damage you're doing to yourself and to society with your try mentality? It's because of you that Jewish people are dying. It's because of you that your family's struggling. It's because of you that you have all of these issues. Because of you, because you're just trying and you're only sinning 4 times a week instead of the average 7. Rabotai Karim, there's no permission to sin. Is sin a reality? Sure, it's a reality. But when is sin a real problem? When you've accepted it as a norm. Sin is going to happen to everyone. Everyone is going to fail at some point or another. Some big, some small. Some in the morning, some at night. Some in the afternoon. Some down the road. Some 6 months later. Some once a year. Some once in a lifetime. But nonetheless, sin happens. The Torah says, En tzadik shelo yichta. There's no such thing as a righteous person that doesn't sin. But the difference between the righteous person that doesn't sin and the average person today that has accepted sin as a perfectly normal way to live is a very, very big difference. Why? That tzaddik, when he makes a sin, he mourns over it, he cries over it, he does everything possible to fix it and make sure it doesn't happen again. The sin of the people today, unfortunately, listen, it happens, but at least it's not as bad as last week. What do you mean? You didn't kill anybody last week? No, it's just that this week I only wasted seed twice, but last week was much worse. Wait, you mean you killed more than 250 million people last week? No, Rabbi, I didn't kill anybody. Well, each time you waste seed, you're killing about 100 million plus neshamot that are supposed to come to the world. They're all going to come and we'll pretty much beat the hell out of you once you leave this world unless you've done tshuva. So, unless, I don't know, you had the Holocaust no one ever heard of, how could last week be any worse? No, last week it was, it was every day, but now that you're telling me that, maybe I don't want to tell you. Rabotai Karim, there is no permission. Yeah, but it's a tough battle and I'm really trying, and I don't think that God really is going to punish me. Okay, you can think all you want in your la-la land. It just doesn't work that way. We don't learn Torah from feelings. We learn Torah from the books, and the books say otherwise. You have a different book that supersedes all the other books. Bechavod, bring it to us. But as so long as your source is your feelings, it's not going to carry any weight. Now, someone could say, yeah, but I'm really trying really hard. You're telling me that I'm going to get judged just as harshly as someone who doesn't even try? Well, technically, you're probably going to be in a worse condition. Now, this wasn't an answer that people expect. Because they figure, wait, if I'm trying and I'm working on myself to stop wasting seed, to stop violating Shabbat, to stop stealing, to stop whatever it is, the adultery or whatever it is out there that God forbids, okay, I'm trying to stop. I learned about it. I'm trying to control myself. And it just happens to be that once a week, twice a week, I fail. But there's another guy that is in my office, that is in my company, that is in my neighborhood, that's even in shul, and sometimes he even is the Chazan, whoever he is. And he doesn't care at all. He has a girlfriend, he has a boyfriend, he has a dog, he has a cat, and everybody he's married to. He doesn't care at all. You're telling me that I'll get punished worse than him? Well, again, you have to evaluate exactly how many dogs and cats he has, but nonetheless, if you count pound for pound that particular sin that he's doing, as far as, let's say, the wasting seed, and you're wasting seed, most likely you'll get punished much, much worse than him. And not most likely, I'm actually being nice. You're definitely going to get punished much worse than him. Why? Because you know. Because you know you're not allowed. And therefore, the magnitude of the damage is much worse. Now, a person can say, yeah, so you know what? It's better off not to know. No, it's not better off not to know, because if you don't know, then you don't know that you need to do tshuva. And then you'll never stop. But if you do know, then you can continue fighting, continue struggling, but pick it up a notch and realize, under no condition am I allowed to touch myself. Am I allowed to commit adultery? Am I allowed to steal? Am I allowed to violate Shabbat? Am I allowed to do all of these horrible sins that the Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin has a whole entire section of the different death penalties that each one of these sinners get? So, I'm not going to do it. Yeah, but it's hard. Okay, well, it's harder to get stoned. It's harder to get strangled. It's harder to have lava pouring down your throat. And guess what? Just because the Sanhedrin is not around, the Gemara says that doesn't mean that the punishment is not around. Punishment still comes. Just HaShem is responsible for it. And he's more particular. So a person needs to understand that the information that you're being given is to help you, not to discourage you. If it discourages you, that's because you don't want to do tshuva. That's because you're acting with emotions. That's because you are simply not ready to change. And the reason why we tell people that there is a 4-step process, regardless of where you are, whether you're completely secular or you're religious, whether you're married or you're single, 4-step process to doing tshuva for this particular sin, like wasting seed. Number 1, watch the movie. Tikkun Habrit. Go to tikkunhabrit.org, watch the movie. That's a start. 2, learn the short clip that we have, which is what is tshuva. Much of it is discussed in the movie, but there are some other particulars that are discussed in this short clip that we have. Step number 3, watch the entire playlist that we have on our app or on our YouTube channel that is for Tikkun Habrit. There is, 150 or so different short and long shiurim in there. Become like it's your house in that playlist. How many times? As often as necessary. Once a day, once every other day, once every 2 minutes. It all depends. But you have to watch these things as part of your daily regiment. Once you've cut it out a little bit, once you've been able to hold yourself for a few weeks at a time, a few months at a time, then perhaps you can lower it. You don't have to watch it every single day. You can watch it every other day, or even every few days, or even once a week, depending on where you stand. But so long as you struggle with this issue, you need to watch the playlist. But guess what? There's a step number 4. Step number 4, perhaps many people don't realize, just the shiurim about Tikkun Habrit, just the movie, just a little clip about tshuva is not enough. It's not enough. Why? Step number 4, learn MUSSAR on a regular basis. Of course, we suggest our shiurim about of MUSSAR. All of our shiurim are generally speaking about MUSSAR. Have them as part of your day-to-day study. Not once a week, not once a month, not once when you feel like it, but rather every single day. Why? Because you need additional information, not just Tikkun Habrit issues, not just morality issues, but other things that will strengthen your neshama and your overall mind and your overall spirituality, that is going to keep you going. Because if you only study that one particular subject, it's not going to be enough for you. You need something else to strengthen out the rest of the system. This is why it's a 4-step process, and it works. For those of you that think, no, you know what? I'll watch the movie, I'll watch a few clips, and then I'll stop. Okay, I'll see you in about a month when you haven't. Why? It's just the way it works. I know how it works. Baruch Hashem, we've helped thousands of people. The problem is that people think that if I try a different way, maybe there's a better way. Maybe there's another way. Maybe this, maybe that. B'chavod, go try it. Go subscribe to one of these websites that charges you $1 zillion for nothing. Go do whatever it is that you want to do and come back in a year or 2 or 3 years and tell me it didn't work. Go do it. B'chavod, it's you that's wasting your time, and it's you that's adding more damage to your neshama. Why? Because you're acting with your emotions. With your emotions. You're thinking that there must be a shorter way, an easier way, a better way. This is the way. This is the way, a way that works. Now, unfortunately, many times, people don't want to deal with this in the right fashion. They want to deal with it in a different fashion. Why? Because they figure, listen, if it's hard for me, then God gave me this problem, then surely he understands that I just can't do it. Just like the homosexuals say, listen, if God didn't want me to be homosexual, then why did he give me cravings to like other men? This is heretical to begin with. Heretical, that mindset is heretical, number one. Number two, it's also a mindset that comes from ignorance. Ignorance of what is your obligation in the world. Your obligation in the world is to serve your Creator, not your Creator to serve you. And thereby, your Creator gave you different difficulties based on your actions in the previous incarnations, gave you certain difficulties for you to overcome as your servitude. So if it's difficult for you to overcome your lust, difficult for you to overcome your desire for food, overcome your difficulty for whatever it is, guess what? That's exactly what he wants. He wants you to overcome this. Yeah, but it's tough. Bingo! You got the point. See, maybe you could start giving shulim now. The problem today is that everybody thinks God's works for them. And he's supposed to give me. And he is grateful that I'm just doing good. And he's just grateful that I didn't kill anybody today. And he's just grateful that I'm just a Jew. Even though I didn't select to be a Jew because I was just born from a Jewish woman. But he's happy. No, he's not happy. He's complete. He's perfect. With or without you. You are the one that has a problem so long as you've accepted sin as a normal part of your life. That is simply something God has to deal with and not you. So the Chazon Ish is saying here, when a man accustoms themselves to being meticulous in the observance of halacha, that in itself is opposite of what their natural and inborn tendencies are. Why? The natural tendencies that a person has is what a person has done during their life in order to make themselves more inclined to do one thing versus another. If a person was one of these people that likes to go out, likes to go party, then that person has, in essence, made themselves more inclined to be promiscuous, more inclined to be an adulterer, more inclined to be a short-term minded type of person when it comes to relationships, more inclined to be more materialistic because that's the scene that they're involved in, that's the scene that they're in. If the person was somebody that didn't care about anybody else except whatever they wanted to do, that person tends to be not just a loner in their job or in their day-to-day life, but also a person that easily eliminates relationships. Simply doesn't care about them. If somebody doesn't do what they want, they could simply end a relationship as if it never existed. Even if the person helped them and did a lot for them, no, they simply cut that person off. Why? I don't feel like it anymore. Person tends to be much more selfish, much more egotistical, much more inclined to think that they are better than the society that's around them. If a person was very interested, let's say, for example, in money to the point where that became the priority in their life, obviously that makes them more materialistic. But at the same token, it also makes them more judgmental. When they see somebody, they evaluate the person based on what they're wearing and where they live, rather than what kind of personality they have, what kind of words come out of their mouth, what kind of thoughts do they think about and bring to life. So whatever a person does in their life will in essence shape their natural tendencies. On the other hand, the Chazon Ish is saying there's also inborn tendencies. What are inborn tendencies? These are tendencies that are partially the same among all of us and partially the same as what we had in our previous incarnation, in our previous life before we came to this world and did not finish the job and therefore got another opportunity at life from God to fix it this time. So some of these inborn tendencies, one of them we learn about in Parashat Noach, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu says that the natural inclination of each of his beings is evil. The Yetzer Hara is evil. They have evil tendencies. Each one of us has evil tendencies, some more, some less. It all depends on how much a person works on themselves. Some people have evil tendencies that are out in the open, where they literally look for opportunities to demolish anyone that they possibly can without looking, without caring of what the consequences are. Some people are so selfish and so egotistical that they literally are willing to kill their own mother just for them to climb another step in their ladder that they had in their mind. So some people have evil in different ways. This is an evil inclination. Otherwise, also people have a laziness. People are naturally lazy. Not when it comes to everything, but particular things that have to do with the connection with God. When it comes to something that they're attracted to, such as money, such as lust, such as things like this, the hobbies that they have and so on, all of a sudden they have all the energy in the world. All week, he'll complain that his legs are hurting. All week, he'll complain that he can barely move. Somebody offers him a trip. Why don't you come on a trip? Oh, where we're going? We're going to the Grand Canyon. You know what? That sounds great. I'm coming. Yeah, but you realize that in the Grand Canyon, you have to walk miles upon miles. Yeah. No, fine. I'm good. But I thought you didn't feel good. I just asked you out of being nice, but I didn't actually think you were going to say yes. No. I'm good. Thanks for inviting me. This is good for me. This is how I'm going to beat it. All of a sudden, he has the energy to walk miles. Why? Because in reality, it depends. It hurts when he doesn't have a reason to overcome it. Not enough of a reason to overcome it. So laziness is something that all of us have when it comes to certain things, specifically when it comes to serving HaShem. Someone says, listen, you just came from the Grand Canyon, right? You had a good time? Yeah. Why don't you come with me to shul? No, it's too far. Well, it's not that far. I mean, it's 15, 20-minute walk. It's Shabbat. We can't drive, so we're not goyim and we're not reform and we're not deformed. We have to walk we have to walk. Yeah, I'm tired. My legs hurt. My legs. I told you my legs hurt. Yeah, but you just came back from the Grand... Nah, that was a one-time thing. Grand Canyon was a one-time thing. Really, because of the Grand Canyon, I didn't know how tough it is. All of a sudden, he doesn't have energy. All of a sudden, his legs hurt. Okay, so you call him on Monday. Hey, listen, you want to come to shul? Want to come to a shiur? No, my legs hurt. No, I can drive you. You don't have to walk anywhere. No, my legs hurt. It bothers me and my legs hurt what? All of a sudden, no energy. Why? Because when it comes to servitude of Hashem, everyone has some form of laziness. This also comes to religious people that pray every day. Will sometimes make a mistake in their prayer. On Rosh Chodesh, they'll forget to say the added part, Ya'aleh v'yavo. And the halacha is, if it's a arvit, you don't have to repeat it. But if it's shachrit or mincha, you have to repeat the whole prayer all over again, the whole amidah all over again. Now it's the morning prayer. He just finished an hour into it. Then at the end of the prayer, he's ready to go to work. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. He has his tefillin. And one of the people says, oh, Chodesh Tov. And the clock ticks in and hold on a second. Chodesh Tov. Wait, did I say Ya'aleh v'yavo? I see Ya'aleh v'yavo. Oh, guess what? If you're questioning it, that's because you didn't do it. You're questioning it because you didn't do it. Because a person doesn't question what they know for sure they did. How do you know you for sure if you did? Something you become accustomed to. Either because you've said it already 100 times, or because you've it's been an extended period of time, more than a month has passed, and certainly by now you've got accustomed to it. So either way, a person now has to decide. What does he have to decide? Do I go and pray again? Because the prayer you did didn't count. Oh, but I got to go to work, and I'll be late, and the client, and the appointment, and what am I going to do? And then this, Rabotai, has to do with laziness to a certain extent, where a person will automatically become lazy. He has all the ambition in the world to go have a meeting for 4 hours straight just to close a deal. He has all the energy in the world to go on vacation to the Grand Canyon or some other zoo. He has all the energy in the world to take care of all of the hobbies and the luxuries of life that he enjoys. But when it comes to serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu, all of a sudden my legs hurt. So this is one of the natural inclinations that a person is born with. One of the other ones that is common among all is the Gemara in Masechet Shabbat and also several other places says, En Adam roeh chova be'atzmo. A person's natural inclination from himself, the inner inclination, is not to see the obligation in himself. What does it mean? It means you're watching the shiur right now. You're hearing some of this stuff. The natural inclination of a person is to think that of all of the people this stuff has to do with, everyone except themselves. Oh, lazy? Yeah, my husband's lazy. Oh, the legs hurt excuse? Yeah, I just heard my girlfriend say that. Yeah, she said that last week. Oh, and the not wanting to do mitzvot? Yeah, that's my cousin. Oh, and this one is stealing? Yeah, that's my other friend. And all of the people that you know or don't know, you heard about, you read about, that have these flaws, that's who the person naturally thinks about, instead of themselves. Am I really lazy? Am I really a thief? Am I really this? The natural inclination is for a person is not to see the obligation themselves. That is a natural inclination, the inner inclination of a person. Unless the person fixes themselves, which takes time and a lot of effort. The other parts of the inner inclinations, the inborn tendencies that a person has, are things that they had in the previous life that simply were not fixed. A person that was angry in their previous life, or stingy in their previous life, or whatever the flaw they had in the previous life, and they did not fix it. And therefore, part of the reason of why they had to be reincarnated is because of this character flaw. Guess what? That character flaw stays with them. I'll even tell you more. Rabbi Yehuda Fetaya says in Ruchot Mesaprot, which in English is called Minhat Yehuda, he says that when he speaks to certain dybbukim, these are spirits of people that have died, that entered the bodies of people that are alive, in order to hide from some of the mezikim that are torturing them, and a few other reasons. And part of the reason is actually because they're allowed to punish these people that they're entering. And in one of the stories, the woman that came to Rabbi Yehuda Fetaya was a righteous woman. Her and her mother came to Rabbi Yehuda Fetaya saying that they feel like she has a dybbuk, there's something strange going on, she hears a voice, she feels like someone is raping her, Hashem Yishmo, all types of horrible things. Rabbi Yehuda Fetaya checks and confirms, yes, she indeed has a dybbuk. And not only she has a dybbuk, but after a process, he identifies that dybbuk is her brother who died, who was a very, very wicked person, horrible person. And this brother gives details of what he looks like and how he was a very beautiful person and extraordinarily promiscuous, to the point where the prostitutes would pay him just to be with him. And this person lived a life that was disastrous. Hashem killed him, took his life, and he is now in Kafakela. And now, as one of the things he got permission to, enter his sister because she made some mistake, she did something wrong, and therefore she got this punishment where her own brother enters her. So now, as Rabbi Yehuda Fetaya is talking to this neshama, to this dybbuk, all of a sudden he sees the girl clock out, she's out of it, and which usually happens, but in a different fashion, and the guy doesn't talk anymore. Then after some time passes, starts talking again. And he asks him, what did you do? He goes, no, I had to do something. What did you do? He finds out he raped his sister, the one that he's in. She feels 100% what a rape feels like. HaShem Yishmor v'yatzil. He goes, why did you do it? He says, I have to. What do you mean you have to? It's your sister. She's suffering. She's this. He goes, you don't understand. That's how I died. I died a promiscuous person. I can't control myself. I have to, like a dog. Or worse, actually. So if a person dies with a potty mouth, guess what? If they're reincarnated, or they go to Gehinnom, or they go to Kafakela, or wherever they go, that potty mouth stays with them. If they're promiscuous, it stays with them. It doesn't go away. Just because a person gets out of this shell they call a body, doesn't mean that all of the filth they've accumulated in their life goes away in some garbage pail that the sanitation department is going to collect. So a person must understand that whatever inclination you have now, whatever tendency you have now, it's nothing new. This is something you've had, and Hashem kept it in you in order for you to overcome it. Is it easy? Obviously not, because if it was, you would have overcome it last time. Is it difficult? Certainly difficult. Is it possible is really the right question. And the answer to that is yes. Now, it sometimes feels impossible, but with enough Torah and MUSSAR to go along with it, certainly this is all possible. But a person must realize that they have to overcome it and never accept failure. Even though failure would happen, and you don't need to kill yourself over failure because it's part of the journey. Part of the journey to success is a whole long road full of failure. Certainly you're going to fail along the way, but so long as you don't accept the failure as this is it, you are on your road to success. Keep trying, keep pushing, and the goal is to eventually succeed. Never think that just because it's difficult for you, therefore it's okay. It's never okay. And in fact, you should know that the second time around, just like the person that knows more information, knows more truth, the punishment is much more severe. Why? Because you've had the same chance multiple times. Similar to if you had, let's say, an employee. Okay? You had an employee. This employee was, like one of these people that's like chafif. They work, sometimes they don't work, sometimes they're in, sometimes they're not in, but they do good work whenever they actually do work. So one day you have this meeting with this worker, you tell her, listen lady, you do good work, but I don't appreciate that you don't show up every other Monday. I don't appreciate that sometimes you're late. I don't appreciate that sometimes the deadlines are simply something that's almost like a recommendation for you, not necessarily an obligation. I don't appreciate these things, and I especially don't appreciate that you like to do everybody else's work except yours. So, please, from now on, this is the job, this is what you need to do, this is the order, this is the structure, thank you. Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I didn't know it bothered you that much. I didn't know this. I'm going to do better. Okay. So, you had a meeting. Everything came out good. Everything works out. And a month later, you check the system. You see, what? Almost nothing has changed. Almost nothing has changed except the date. So, of course, the second time you have a meeting with this person, it's not going to be the same as the first time. The first meeting was like, listen, we really like your work, but we appreciate. The second time you have a meeting is like, listen, if you don't change, I'm firing you. And that's only if you really, really do like the work that she does or he does. If you don't change, I'm firing you. Like now it's a threat. Last time it was, please change. Now I'm threatening you. Yes, I'm telling you, if you don't change, I'm firing you. Now, if you see that this person disregard you the third time, then certainly you're going to fire them. Are you going to think about the fact, but she has kids, she depends on this income, this? No, you're not going to think about all those things. Why? You warned her multiple times and she doesn't care. So it's her fault. Her blood is in her hands. This is what Torah says to people that commit homosexual sins, incestual sins, bestiality. The Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin says their blood is in their hands. Why? They got a fair warning multiple times in the Torah. They got a whole history of people that HaShem punished severely for these crimes. They didn't listen. Guess what? Your blood is in your hands. Your blood is in your hands. You caused it. Nobody else did. But what if I was born this way? You're not born this way. You're not born with some guy that you're married to. You're born with certain inclinations. Perhaps you're more attracted to someone feminine. Perhaps you are more feminine. Perhaps this, perhaps that. No one is born with a husband and he's a boy. No one is born with a wife either. You're born with certain inclinations that will either develop in a positive way or a negative way. If you understand your obligation in the world, you're going to work on taking advantage of your positive attributes that are in line with the Torah and build on those and try to work the best you possibly can to remove and overcome the negative attributes that you have in order not to go against God. But if you're simply going to follow whatever physical inclination you have, then guess what? There's a reason why in the Gemara, Masechet Sanhedrin, when they talk about the punishment of homosexuality and how they get punished at the Sanhedrin and so on, guess what? They put bestiality right next to homosexuality. It's in the same exact Mishnah. Same way that they have it in the Torah. Every time you see homosexuality, right next to it, there's bestiality. Because in the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's unnatural. It's an abomination, and therefore it is the same. It is the same whether you have intimacy with a cow or with a same-gender person. Same exact thing. Now you're saying, but I have an inclination, and I'm disgusted by women, and I'm disgusted by this. Guess what, buddy? God knows exactly what you have. You're not going to fool him. He gave you certain inclinations. He gave you certain tools to overcome them, and you have the ability to do so. You simply choose not to. You simply choose to be a beast. So guess what? You will be slaughtered like a beast. Why? That's the way God works. He gave you tools. You misuse them because you figured that, yeah, but this is not good for me. I don't agree with this. When you decide that a whole animal farm is either going to live or die, then you can give them the rules too beforehand. But since you didn't create this world and it's not your animal farm, you can't decide what the rules are. God created this world. He has rules. He gave you everything that you have. He gave you the air in your lungs. He gave you the food in your mouth. He gave you every single thing that you have. You have to comply with his rules. You don't like it? Okay. Learn enough Torah. You'll see that it's good for you. You'll see that it's the best thing for you. But so long as you think that your physical desires are what is supposed to be the driving force behind your actions, you are no different than the animal you're being compared to. Same concept goes for any other type of sinner. Sin happens. Mistakes happens. I don't want anyone to think that the righteous people don't make any sins, they don't make any mistakes, and it's just the people out there that are not the tzaddikim, they make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. But the difference is, once a person tries to be righteous, they don't accept that mistake as, this is the norm, I just have to like it, I just have to enjoy it, I just have to make the best of it, and I'm going to continue doing it. No, you have to overcome it. So there are natural inclinations that a person creates as a result of their own actions, and then there's these inborn tendencies that are something that they have actually had for some time even before this life. Then the Chazon Ish continues and he says, when this person gets accustomed to being meticulous in the observance of halacha, which is the opposite of his inborn tendencies and his natural tendencies, this accustoms him to have his deep understanding rule and his intellect control him. What does it mean is a deep understanding rule and his intellect control him? When a person realizes that if I follow my emotions, then 9 out of 10 times I'm going to make a mistake. Not just in my servitude of HaShem, but generally speaking, in everything in life. If I make a business decision based on my emotions, 9 out of 10 times, it's going to be a wrong decision. Why? Because you have to look at a business based on bottom line. Not just necessarily profits or losses, but simply bottom line. What does this product do? What does this company do? Is this something that people need? Is this something that people would want? It has to do with things that are actual, that are factual. You have to look at something there. Not just like, you know what? I like their logo. Oh, you know what? I like the company colors. Oh, you know what? I really like that CEO. He's so nice. That's not going to help you in life. It's not going to help you. Why? You have to look at bottom line stuff. That's how the world works. Now, this makes it difficult at times for women. Why? Because naturally, they're more emotional. Unfortunately, in this generation, men have become more women and women have become more like men, where they're a little less emotional and they're more emotional. But nonetheless, a person needs to know, when it comes to your servitude of Hashem, even more than anything else, you have to try your best to eliminate the emotions when it comes to serving Hashem. How do you do that? By becoming more meticulous when it comes to halacha. That means you have to learn halacha. Learn what it says. If you don't understand it, double check. Ask the rabbi a question. Double check in another book. You heard it in a shiur. You didn't understand it. Ask the rabbi. The rabbi that gave the shiur doesn't respond. Perhaps you should ask a different rabbi. Don't ask a different rabbi about a rabbi's shiur. First ask the one that said it. Then ask somebody else. Even more so, after you've asked it, ask him, where is it in the book? Where can I see what you said in the book? He tells you the source. You look in a book. You try to understand it. You study the issue. Don't just say, listen, I heard that you're allowed to do X, Y, Z, so it's okay, right? No. You have to check. You have a responsibility. Your life is in your hands. It's not in anybody's hands. You can't just say, listen, I heard it in the shiur, so therefore it's allowed, right? No. Just because you heard it in the shiur doesn't mean it's allowed. And just because you heard it in the shiur doesn't mean it's not allowed. You have to double check. Your life is in your hands. If all of a sudden you heard it in the news, ladies and gentlemen, a new goodbye law was passed by Nancy Pelosi. Everyone's allowed to murder for the next 24 hours. Beep, and that's it. News is over. So where are you going to go? First thing, kill the neighbor that makes a lot of noise. Next thing, the competition. Next thing. And then you're going to find out, wait, that was just a hoax. That was some hackers. That was some people that made the law. Yeah, but I heard it in the news. Double check. Double check. You have a responsibility. Your life is in your hands. You can't just make these rash moves just because you heard it somewhere. You have to double check. And even sometimes triple check. Because your life is in your hands. It's not in anybody else's hand. So if a person is going to play the lazy button, or I don't have time card, this is not going to work out so well. This is not going to work out so well. God's going to ask you, wait, how come you had time to go to school and to go to work and to go bowling and to go to Thanksgiving and to go to everything else, but you didn't have enough time to double check whether you're allowed to do any of those activities? How come? You had time, you had 4 hours to waste on Netflix. You had 6 hours to waste on baseball. You had 10 hours to waste on football and 12 hours playing poker. That you had time. But to go double check if you're allowed to do any of those things, which shouldn't take you more than a half hour in total, that you didn't have time. How come? Oh, because, I didn't think about it. I asked, and the rabbi, I figured since I saw, and these are not going to help you. These are not going to help a person in Shemayim. What? You have a responsibility. You have a responsibility. And unfortunately today, the mindset of people today is the quick fix. Quick fix. Either they go to Rabbi Google, yes or no, or they just ask somebody that has a kippah on, and if he says yes, if he says no, that's enough. What if he's wrong? What if he's wrong? Oh no, but he told me. Guess what? That's not going to help you. It's not going to help you. Why? You're responsible to know. You're responsible to know for you. Surely whoever you ask is responsible to know for themselves, but you're still responsible. That doesn't negate the fact that you are responsible for you. Doesn't absolve you from it. So when a person decides that they're going to become more meticulous in their observance of halacha, they're going to have a fight against their inborn tendencies. And the way to win that fight is by getting themselves used to using their deep understanding of the law and their intellect, using that to make decisions. That means if I don't understand it, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. You need to make the decision. Wait, this is allowed or it's not allowed? I don't know. Okay, so let's go check. No, but we gotta go. We gotta do it. Just do it or not. No. It's not just do it or not. I need to go check. Okay, so just do it then and, find out after. No. I'm not gonna do it. Oh, you're not gonna do it? How are you not gonna do it? You're gonna lose out. Listen, I don't know if I'm allowed or not allowed. I have to double check. There was one time a guy that was doing tshuva. And this may sound silly to some people, but he was very proud of this. Why? He's one of these heavy guys, big desire for food. And he tells me, I overcame it. I said, what'd you overcome? The cookie. So what do you mean cookie? He's like, listen, on Shabbat, my wife, she cooks good food. And I really like the food she makes. But this Shabbat, she got some snacks and everything. We are in the Shiur, you have to be onik Shabbat, all the snacks, all the good stuff. So my wife got some cookies. I said, okay, Baruch Hashem, what's the problem? So you didn't eat the cookies? No. Rabbi, it's not about I didn't eat the cookie. I ate the cookie. I didn't eat it right then. I'm like, why didn't you eat the cookie? He says, because we had the chulent. The chulent had meat. And usually after, chulent, I have a tea, some cookies and everything. And then I went to get the box of cookies. And she got it from the kosher store. So I know it's kosher. It's just that this is apparently like a bakery. They make their own stuff. So they forgot to put whether this cookie is parv or it's dairy. And it had chocolate on it. It had like chocolate chips. And I asked my wife, is this dairy or is it parv? My wife says, I have no idea. It's at the kosher store. I know it's kosher. But check. He's like, I checked. There's no sticker. Yeah, but I really want a cookie right now. Okay, so it's in front of you. No, but I don't know if it's dairy. Then if it's dairy, I just ate meat. Then it's milk and meat. And, Rabbi says it's Gehinnom or all types of other horrible stuff. And the Baal Tanya says I have to go into Gehinnom of snow. And horrible things just for the cookie. Okay, so don't eat the cookie. Yeah, but it's an emotional decision for me. I want the cookie. He's a big guy. He likes cookies. Cute. But he had Yirat Shamayim. And guess what? He didn't eat the cookie. He didn't eat the cookie. It doesn't sound like a big deal, but it's a huge deal. Why? It shows that he has Yirat Shamayim. Now you that don't have desire for cookies, it sounds ridiculous to you. Come on, what's a big deal? You know what things I overcame? One time I had this. Everybody has their little stories. That's his story. That's his story. He overcame the cookie. And guess what? It helped him learn more Torah. It helped him do more mitzvot and Baruch Hashem grow. Why? Because it's not that he knew it's not allowed and therefore he didn't do it. He just didn't know. Eventually he found out it's parv. So he was allowed to technically eat it. But technically, he couldn't eat it without knowing. So a person needs to understand that when you are becoming more meticulous with Torah, with the halacha, it's going to be an inner battle. Not just a battle with the people around you that are telling you to go to a Thanksgiving dinner or lunch. Not just a battle with your friends that are telling you to come watch baseball and basketball and all types of sports. Not just a battle with the society at large that is telling you should remove all of your clothes and become like a cow just like them. Not just a battle with the upside down business world that is literally building itself off of like a pyramid scheme after another. No, you're not just fighting those outside battles. You're going to have an inner battle. The inner battle, which is the inner inclinations that you have developed yourselves and ones you've already had from your previous life. And the only way to overcome all of those is through becoming meticulous in halacha to the point where unless I understand it, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And this, Rabotai, forces a person to use their intellect rather than their emotions. And therefore the Chazon Ish says this will enhance the constant awareness of the importance of submitting to his inner sense and his elevated conscience, and trains him to be a spiritual person, distancing him completely from coarseness. How so? How does this actually happen? When a person learns the halacha, then follows the halacha, knows that there's going to be different exterior interferences and influences, inner interferences and influences, natural inclination to just let it go, be more laid back, do whatever I feel and feel whatever I do. That's the inner battle. The outer battle we already discussed. But now he says, no, I'm following the book. Yeah, but this Joe Schmo that calls himself a rabbi, He says that everything's going to be okay. You're going to get all of your mitzvot back, even though this book says otherwise. Okay, can he show me that in a book? No, it's not in a book. It's Hasidut, man. It's Hasidut. Okay, Hasidut have a lot of books. Show me a Hasid that says this mumbo jumbo that the guy says. No, he doesn't remember. Oh, he doesn't remember? Okay, so when he remembers, tell him to send it to me. Tell him to send it to me. So then I can live by it. Because if it doesn't say it in a book, by one of the greats, one of the giants of the generations, then obviously this is not going to be part of my understanding. Come on, you're always like that. You're always so fanatic. It's not fanatic. It's meticulous. It's not fanatic. We're not teaching things that are above and beyond your responsibility. We're teaching your responsibility. That's it. See, none of what we've taught over the last 8-9 years or so has been what's called stringencies, or in Hebrew, chumrah. All we teach is the basic law. It's sad that the basic law seems so unreachable and detestable in some people's eyes. But the reality is those that follow to the best of their ability end up thanking HaShem 1.5 million times, and sometimes they even say thank you to us. Why? Because the basics of the law are good for you. The problem is that the inner inclination, the inner tendencies, the outside interferences and negative inspirations are going to tell you that these basics are not basics. They are stringencies, they are fanatic, they are too much. God doesn't care about that stuff. He cares of whether you're a good person or not. And whether you are a good person or not is subjective. Some people may think you're a good person. Perhaps some people will not. But God will always see you in a positive light. Why? Because He's all loving. Where do they find this? Which book is this in? Perhaps it's in a fairy tale by Disney. Maybe Disney wrote a new Bible. But no God of Israel ever said such things. No sage of Israel ever said such things. In fact, not even the false idolatrous religions have said such things. Not that we learn anything from them, but literally, even the idol worshippers don't say stupid things like this. Who says things like this? People that have simply decided that sin is perfectly fine. And they like it. And they're not willing to change. Usually it's because of ignorance, more than it is because of desire. Now, the Chazon Ish says that if a person becomes more meticulous in their Torah observance, learns more about the law, learns more about the details, in addition to the MUSSAR, in addition to the character trait development, this is going to force him or her to use their intellect rather than their emotions. And this will ultimately enhance their constant awareness of the importance of submitting to their inner sense, to their elevated conscious. What is this inner sense and elevated conscious? Sometimes a person has an issue in front of them and they know the truth. They know the truth. They know that they're allowed or not allowed to do something. But either they have a desire to do something, an interest to do something, whatever it is that's steering them the other way. And all the intellect in the world is not helping. It's not sufficient. Yeah, I know I'm not allowed, but I still want to do it. That's when the inner elevated conscious comes in. Telling the person, listen, Steve, you know you're not allowed to waste seed. You know you're not allowed to touch that woman. You know you're not allowed to touch that man. You know you're not allowed to steal that money. Listen, you're not allowed to do that stuff. You know that. Yeah, I know. But I don't care. One time, man. One time and I'll do tshuva. Yeah, but you know you're not allowed. I know I'm not allowed. Stop reminding me. I know. But One time, man. One time. So all of a sudden, the inner conscience comes in. Says, hey, Steve, you're right. That is attractive. That is attractive. That money, that thing, that's attractive. You're 100% right. Oh, so I'm going to do it? No. Listen. It's attractive. It looks delicious. Everything you said. You're right. You're not delusional. The question is it worth the price? What? You're talking about Gehinnom again? Well, that, but we don't have to get to that right away. What then? Well, look, you've been doing tshuva for 5 years. You've been keeping Shabbat. You got married. You had a kid or two. You know, you go to shul. The community knows you. They even have you as chazan once a week. They had you at some awards dinner. They even gave you like a chazaku baruch. Maybe next year you'll even go on stage. You've been reading the Gemara. You're part of the Shiur every week already for the last 3 years. Daf Yomi. You watch a Shiur. You know, you're in. No, what's your point? What's your point? Question is she worth losing all of that? What do you mean, losing all of that? Well, you realize that, yeah, you may have this right now, and whatever pleasure you have, it's going to be momentary. But you do realize that there's an eye that's watching, and an ear that's listening, and a hand that's writing everything you do. And someone that desecrates Hashem's name in hiding, the punishment is public exposure. So when God does decide to publicly expose this, your wife is going to find out. Your kids are going to find out. The community is going to find out. And that's just the beginning. Is it really worth it? Is she worth it? Is he worth it? Is that worth it? And even more than that, all of those mitzvot that you've gathered over the last 5 years you've been doing tshuva, is it worth it to just throw them all in the garbage? Well, why are they going in the garbage? Well, technically it's going to feel like they're in the garbage because you're going to have to suffer in Gehinnom for this, and those mitzvot are not going to help you while you're in Gehinnom. So it's going to feel like all the mitzvot went in the garbage because you're in Gehinnom and the mitzvot can't help you while you're there. So when a person learns, even if the knowledge of the law itself is insufficient, the MUSSAR that they've learned creates an inner voice, an inner conscience that can help that very same person. When push comes to shove, when the moment of truth arrives, and reminds him, is it really worth it to make that sin? I know you know, but that's not helping you. Is it worth it to lose it all for that? Is it worth it to cheat on your wife that's given you several kids? Is it worth it to betray your boss? Is it worth it to betray your employees? Is it worth it to betray your community? Is it worth it to betray yourself? Just for that? Just for that one thing? Is it really worth it? So the Chazon Ish says, this is why the combination of the MUSSAR and becoming meticulous when it comes to the law, becoming meticulous when it comes to halacha, why they have to go together. Because this trains him to become a spiritual person, distancing him completely from coarseness. How does such a thing distance a person from being coarseness? This is a different set of teachings. You see, every one of the words that the Chazon Ish uses here, as the rest of the tzadikim, the chachamim that we've had, there's a certain amount of weight that goes into every word. They're not just saying something just to make it a nice paragraph that rhymes. How does everything we just learned have anything to do with being a rude person, a vulgar person, a coarse person? What does that have to do with it? You see, if you're meticulous with the law, then you're going to be meticulous with the entire law and not just the part of the law that you like. Rav Shalom Shvadron, Alav Shalom, in the Sefer Da'at Torah, which is a Sefer by his grandfather, he republished it, and he wrote in Chelik Aleph a story about a person that he calls a Chasid Shoteh. What's a Chasid Shoteh? A Chasid that's a drunk. And you'll see in a moment why he called him a drunk. Rav Shvadron says there was a certain Chasid that took upon himself to become very meticulous when it comes to blessings, where he made sure to make at least 100 blessings every day and look for opportunities to make a blessing. Eat the apple because I want to make the blessing. Eat the bread to do birkat hamazon. Eat this, bracha for this, bracha for this, bracha, 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 bracha. Becoming a fanatic about blessing. Fantastic, it's good, you make blessings, but the question is, what's behind it? He said one time, this Chassid walks in to a place full of Jews, and he sees a very, very short man, like a midget. Now this man is operating like everybody else, talking and so on. But this Chassid gets the excitement of his life. Like he just won the lotto. He starts running towards this little guy. And he's running, and he's running, and his long peyot are flying everywhere. And he's running, and he's running, and he's excited. Oh, I can't wait. And he gets there, and he gets there, and he gets there, and he takes the little guy, and he picks him up in the air, and he says, Baruch atah Hashem meshaneh et habriot. And he puts him down. What are you doing? What? There's a halacha, and this is from the Gemara, Masechet Brachot. Page 58b says when you see somebody really small, you have to make a blessing. Meshaneh et habriot. So I'm making a blessing. I'm excited about the blessing. Yeah, you shoteh, you drunk. Not like this. Not embarrassing and murdering this guy in public. You want to go make your blessing, go make it somewhere else. Pick up the guy, an adult, like he's some prized possession. That's not meticulous in halacha. That's fanatic to the point of disaster. When a person understands that the whole goal of becoming meticulous with the halacha is in order to serve HaShem and become a better person, a better servant of HaShem, a better Jew, a better servant of society, then certainly they're going to use the different ways and the different tools that Hashem gives us to function and better society altogether as well as ourselves. But when a person simply sees these mitzvah opportunities as just a way for them to attain their so-called righteousness that's in their mind, then certainly this is fanaticism. Fanaticism that usually hurts the others. Rav Mordechai Eliyahu, alav shalom, had a student that was in his kollel, and the student came to the Rav and said, Kvod Rav, I've read about the halachot of wearing tefillin and studied it intensely. And I know that Chachamim say that in order for one to wear it all day, learning Torah, they have to make sure that their mind is clear of any foreign thoughts. They're only thinking Torah, which I'm certainly capable of. And even more so, they need to have a clean body, which Baruch Hashem I don't have to worry about. My body's clean, both of filth, but also the inner issues, digestive issues, and so on. So because of that, Rav, I want your permission for me to wear tefillin all day while I study Torah. Rav Mordechai Eliyahu smiles at a student. He says, you're right. According to halacha, you've studied it, and you're allowed to wear the tefillin. But I forbid you from doing it. So the students go, hold on. Wait, on one hand you said I'm allowed to do it, but on the other hand you said I'm not allowed to do it? It's exactly, yes. Why? He says, you're right. Exactly what the Shulchan Aruch says. You have to have a clean body. You have to have a clean mind. And since you studied it, technically you're allowed to do it. What you didn't include is that, you see, the Rabbi Yosef Karo said that since most people cannot maintain a clean body, it's no longer a custom for people to wear tefillin all day, because most people can't do it. But you can do it. So he says, so why is that a bad thing? So it's not a bad thing. So you see, David HaMelech says, To'evat Hashem kol gvalev. Hashem is disgusted by arrogance. It's considered an abomination in his eyes. So when you walk around as the only person in the entire kollel with tefillin on his head the whole day, nobody else is wearing tefillin, just you. 200 people, one guy wearing tefillin the whole day. Naturally, your inclination is going to tell you, look at them, these lowlives. Either they have filthy minds or filthy bodies. Psst, not like me. Got clean body, clean mind, baby. Got this one. Rabbi Yosef Karo, when he was talking about it's no longer a custom, he didn't think about me. And that abomination that will be in your mind is much, much worse than the little bit of mitzvah that you're going to get by wearing tefillin in comparison. And therefore, I forbid you. From there we learn from Rav Mordechai Eliyahu that yes, there are certain things that a person can be allowed to do it, but they shouldn't, because the negative that could come out of it, such as arrogance, such as hurting others, is much worse than the positive that was gained. When a person is meticulous rather than fanatic, meticulous about the mitzvah, not just what to do, but how to do it, when to do it, why to do it, the world of the mitzvah, then certainly this is going to make the person much less coarse, much less rude, much less obnoxious, much less of a disaster to society at large, and in fact, a much greater addition to his community, and to his marriage, and to his children, and to everybody else. But if you see that your mitzvah observance and meticulousness is causing anguish to other people that are more or less also observant, just not as observant as you are, don't look at them and say, oh, there's something wrong with them. Look in the mirror and say, what am I doing wrong? Esav, the Midrash says that his head was also buried inside Me'arat HaMechpelah, because he thought about the mitzvot, the details, all the things you can do, maaser of the salt, maaser of this, maaser of that. But that's where he left it at. He had all these thoughts about what he can do, but he never actually did them. Many times people theorize themselves as this tzadik that they have in their mind. So what they do is everything they can do to look like this image of a tzadik. Grow a beard, peyot, have a big hat, jacket, pants. What about the Torah? When I get time. What about MUSSAR? When I get a chance. What about the inside? No, inside I'm good. And they start trying to look like this tzaddik by seeming to be stringent on the most unnecessary things, seeming to be very zealous on the most ridiculous things. And when do you see that they're really fakers? You're not going to see it in their mitzvah observance, because you'll probably see them at shul, and you'll probably see them dress modest, and you'll probably see them make blessings and say the Shema Yisrael and eat kosher. You're going to see that. But at some point or another, their falsehood will come out. When you see the damage they cause society and how they treat their wives, or if they're a woman, how they treat their husbands. Well, you had one time a story come out not that long ago where a so-called religious woman was the new hire in a kindergarten. And one of the mothers that sent her little baby, 4-year-old, 5-year-old kid, to this kindergarten saw that the kid is changing, acting strange, doesn't want to talk anymore, all types of strange things. So she had one of these little cameras put on the baby, or in her bag or something, recording this whole thing. And what this camera recorded, HaShem Yishmo v'yatzil, this so-called religious woman was cursing up a storm, wishing for the Creator to take away the baby's lives, cursing them, calling them, you are children from Gehinnom, you are this, you are that. Little kids. Why? Because they're hungry, or because they need to change a diaper, or because of some other reason. They're being babies. But this so-called teacher that looks religious, perhaps they could teach in Gehinnom, but not in this world. Now, if you look at this woman in the street, say, oh, it's a perfectly religious woman. She makes her blessings. She looks modest. You look at this person in the street, say, oh, look, he looks religious. He goes to shul. He got shtreima. He got the beard. He got the hats. Got the peyot. Got this. Got that. Yeah, but how come his last show was to a mixed crowd with boys and girls dancing and making sins? How come the last business deal he did was a non-kosher deal that no rabbi would allow? How come he's involved in all types of shady things? How come? How come? He's religious, right? Yeah, to a point. A person can be meticulous about certain things, but the truth will come out about them when it comes to how they affect society. And of course, when I say how they affect society, that certainly goes along with how they act in accordance to the Torah. Because sometimes they think that they're affecting society in a positive way by doing things that are forbidden in the Torah. And certainly, that's forbidden. Now, a person would think that the law is too strict the first time they look at it. There's too many details. What they don't realize is that those exact details are not only what's necessary to observe the law, but those exact details are what's necessary in order for you to reshape your mind, to reshape your natural inclinations into what they need to be. The details of the law are not just needed for the law to be executed the right way, but it's needed for you to get to where you need to be. So now if you ask a person, listen, have you heard of the Chafetz Chaim in his book about Lashon Hara? Yeah, of course, Lashon Hara. Never say any Lashon Hara. Never say any Lashon Hara. Okay, did you study the book of Lashon Hara? No, I don't say Lashon Hara, so I don't need to study the book of Lashon Hara. But my neighbors, all day they say Lashon Hara. You can give them the book. Do you realize that what you just did is Lashon Hara? Oh, it is? Maybe you do need to learn the laws of Lashon Hara. And your neighbors too. When you come to people, tell them about the laws of Lashon Hara. What do they think Lashon Hara is? Lashon Hara is whatever disagrees with their conscience, with their feelings, with their emotions. Oh, look, the rabbi is talking bad about another rabbi that I like, so that's Lashon Hara, guys. That rabbi is bad. Well, do you know the laws of Lashon Hara? Do you know that actually, not only is it not Lashon Hara to speak against heretics, but it's actually a mitzvah that brings mercy to the entire world, so much so that it could stop the next Holocaust? Oh no, you didn't know that? You thought it's Lashon Hara still? You see, when people don't know the details, they become stringent when they're supposed to be lenient, and lenient when they're supposed to be stringent. They make the things that are short long, and the things that are long short. Sort of what they do with the modesty and wigs of today. The kisui rosh of the mitpachat, they make that longer by giving their wives a long idol-worshipping wigs. And the skirt that's supposed to cover our entire leg, they make it shorter so she looks like somebody they saw on TV. A person needs to understand, to be meticulous with the law is not because that's the only way to fulfill that mitzvah, but it's also because the only way for you to fix yourself, fix ourselves. The law is necessary. The details of the law are necessary. But if you see that you're not becoming better, despite following the mitzvot, certainly you need to check something. Maybe you're not really following like you think you do. There's a lot more work to be done. If a person looks at the outcome rather than the process, certainly they're going to have tarif in their hands. If a person looks at the halachot of eating kosher, they'll be baffled in how many details there are when it comes to slaughtering. The Chafetz Chaim says that to teach people about kashrut is much easier than teaching them about Lashon Hara. Why? Usually that has to do with somebody else. Not everybody's a slaughterer. So they figured somebody else has to do all these crazy stringencies, even though they're not stringencies. They're the basics of the law. Same concept as the laws of Lashon Hara, the basics of the law. But people think that anything that is too much for them and where they are is stringency. For example, if a person takes to a slaughtering knife and there's a little nick in a knife, he slaughters that animal, that entire cow is tarif. He makes sure the next cow doesn't cause him a $25,000 loss. So he makes sure to sharpen the knife. Takes the cow, everything is ready, and he takes the knife and he stops in the middle and then goes. Guess what? You just lost another $25,000, $30,000. Why? Now to stop. Okay, third cow. He's the owner, so no one can fire him. But he wants to show his employees that he really knows what he's doing. Takes the knife and goes and he presses a little bit to make sure that he cuts it. Nothing is left. Extra tough. Tarif. Right? Now to put pressure on it. Now you don't know these little details. Guess what? You just lost $100,000 or more. If I told you this is the details that have to be followed in order for you to eat kosher meat, you can say, "Oh, that's too much. That's too stringent. That's too this." But guess what? If the person that's slaughtering your food doesn't do that, you can't eat kosher. So if he is willing to do that, for whatever wage they give him, how much more so does that obligate us to follow the details of the law for the wage that God gives us? There was a young kid in 1955. Story was originally told by Rav Pesach Kron in one of his Sfarim. Came out in multiple editions. One was the Echoes of the Magid. Another one is a sefer of the Magid stories for children. And he has some amazing stories because he's literally been around tzaddikim throughout his entire life and saw these stories in real life. So in 1955, there was a family that lived in Switzerland that was the Meticulous family. And each year they would go to this hotel, this hotel that had Jewish community in it, and for vacation. And one year the husband couldn't go, so it was just the mother and the son. The mother's name was Dvorah, and the kid's name was Laser Marilis. This kid was 6 years old, and each year they would go to this place for vacation for a few days, and they had the same room each year. And as they got to the room, unpacked everything, all of a sudden, knock on the door. Dvorah, Mrs. Marilis, opens the door, and she sees the owner of the hotel, Mr. Pugach, nervous in front of her. Mrs. Marilis, I'm sorry, I need to speak to you for a moment. Yes? We just found out that the Rav Miponovich is here. And he just had a surgery. And the doctor told him that he has to relax. He cannot stay home with all the people that are bothering him every day and asking questions and everything. He has to heal. So he came here to heal. Came to our hotel. The problem is that the only place that I have a room is on the 3rd floor. And the Rav is in no position to go up all these stairs for 3 stories. And I was wondering if perhaps you'd be willing to give up your room and I'll give you a room on the 3rd floor. So Mrs. Marilis says, yes, I would be happy to give the Rav Miponovich my room, but it also affects my son, so let's ask him. Sure, let's ask him. So little Laser comes, he goes, yes. What can I do? So the owner says to him, the Rav Miponovich, Rav Yosef Kahneman, he is here. And we're wondering if you'd be willing to give up your bed, your room, and go to a different room, upstairs on the 3rd floor. Laser said, sure, no problem. I don't mind giving the Rav my bed. I'd be happy to. Wonderful. So, quickly, the owner got some people from the hotel to help the mother and the son get their stuff together and bring them up to the 3rd floor. Shortly after they settled down in the new room on the 3rd floor, the door knocks. Yes. But this time, it's not the owner of the hotel. It's the Rebbitzin Kahneman, the Rabbi Ponovich's wife. She says, hi, I just wanted to thank you so much for giving us your room, giving the Rav your room. It's certainly going to help him recover. We really want to say thank you. So the mother says, of course, it's our pleasure. Thank you very much for coming. You didn't have to. And then the Rabbanit says to the little boy Laser, can I give you a little chocolate? I'll buy you from the store downstairs. And the boy Laser thinks about it and goes, no, I don't need chocolate. I don't need it. Thank you. I was happy to give my room to the Rav. So the Rabbanit says, okay, well, I want to do something nice for you to show you that we appreciate that you gave the Rav your bed. So I'm going to go to the stores in a little while. Perhaps I can get you a toy. What toy would you like? So the boy thinks for a moment. He says, no, I don't need a toy. My parents gave me everything I need. I'm happy that I did the mitzvah for the Rav and gave him my bed. So the Rabbanit is so amazed by this little kid. She says, Yeah, but how can we show you that we're really appreciative of what you did? And the little boy Laser showed what his natural inclinations are and said the following. After thinking for a few moments, he said something that would change the lives of many. And he says to the Rabbanit, you see, I gave my bed to the Rav. Perhaps one day I'm going to want to go to his yeshiva in Ponovich, the Ponovich yeshiva. Perhaps the rabbi will also give me a bed in his yeshiva. The Rabbanit was so amazed at this 6-year-old boy. She said, absolutely. She takes a piece of paper, she writes down, Laser Marilis will have a bed at Yeshivat Ponovich if he ever comes. And she says, signs it, she has 1 second. She goes downstairs, 3 floors, gives it to the Rabbi Ponovich. He signs the letter. She comes back up, she goes, here you go. If you ever come to Yeshiva Ponovich, to the Rav Yeshiva, you bring this letter. And of course, the kid was happy, the Rabbanit was happy, and who was happier than his mother? But that's not where the story ends. In 1965, that boy is 16 years old. And he decides that he wants to go to the yeshiva of Ponovich in Eretz Yisrael. And he comes, flies into the country, shows up at the admission desk, and is told, we're sorry, but you didn't pass the test. So we have 1,000 other boys already filling up this yeshiva. We can't just make exceptions. And he tries to get into the yeshiva the regular way. But it didn't work. And that was his dream. For years he thought about this yeshiva. And he tried his best. With whatever talents and abilities God gave him, he tried. And it just wasn't enough. So he asked the rabbi behind the desk, can I speak to the Rebbitzin, please, before I leave? The rabbi says to him, sure, but the Rebbitzin doesn't make decisions about who gets in or out of the yeshiva, but I'll bring her to you to speak to you. Okay. So the Rebbitzin comes, and as soon as she comes, see the boy, she doesn't know who he is. He takes a little note out of his pocket, and he gives it to the Rebbitzin. The Rebbitzin's face lights up. It's you. Come with me right now. She takes the boy, come right to the Rabbi Ponovich's office. Everybody's amazed at this. They have no idea what's going on, but they're just following. What's going on? Why? Who is this kid? As soon as she gets to the office, she gives the note to Rabbi Ponovich. He reads the note. He gets up out of his chair. And he gives this kid, Laser, the biggest hug of his life. And says to him, of course you have a bed here. Of course you have a bed here. Because of you, life was changed for so many. The things a little boy says. Now that kid used whatever ability and talents and inclinations that he had to get into the yeshiva in a normal fashion. And it wasn't enough. But the inner inclinations that he had already at 6 years old that were taught to him by his mommy, that was already brought to him from his previous carnation, that got him that little note. But the reality is that if it wasn't for the combination of those two, alongside with the inclination of the tzadikim, the Rabbi Ponovich and his Rebbitzin, keeping their word, taking a kid seriously, not only will the story have been never told, and would have never happened, but so many lives would have never changed. That kid went to the yeshiva Ponovich and stayed there for 10 years. until this day, he still lives in the area. You see, Rabotai Karim, every single one of us is given a certain amount of talents and abilities and flaws and pluses and minuses and cons and all types of things. Our job in this world is to better ourselves. The way to better ourselves is through the Torah. By learning the law, being meticulous with the law, and understanding when and how to fulfill it. To do that, we need to combine the learning of the law with MUSSAR. When you combine it, you're not only going to better yourself as a servant of HaShem, better yourself as a Jew, better yourself as a wife, better yourself as a husband, better yourself as a son or a daughter. But even more than anything else, you'll better yourself as a person that's part of society, because you will be a light to anyone that looks at you. And that, Rabotai, it may not be easy. In fact, it's not. But that's the purpose. Yeh Ratzon, that each and every single one of us will never accept our failures as the end, but rather as another opportunity to overcome the obstacles and serve Hashem with even more effort. Because based on the effort, that is the reward, says the Mishnah in Masechet Avot. The more effort you put into fulfilling the will of Hashem, the greater the reward you will get in this world and the next. May all of us be extraordinarily wealthy with the reward that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us in this world and the next.
Where is Gehinnom in halacha?
What'd you do to get in here, huh?
Evacuate Sector 5.
Not midrashim, not gemarot. We did that already.
People go to a place and they experience weird things. And sometimes they actually will see a character of some type. Well, where did that come from?
Once something is halacha, that's it. That's like Mount Sinai, Moshe Rabbeinu, the end. There is no further discussion.
I don't know why that one chain is swinging back there.
The largest near-death experience study that has ever been conducted.
How much does the Torah mention the subject of Gehinnom and consequence?
Do you believe that angels, demons exist?
Holy shit, get out of here! Oh my god, dude!
What did the Hasidim actually say about punishment? Does Hasidut believe in Gehinnom or no?
What the hell is this? I've got bad chest pain.
Satan's Hollow is what it's called, the portal to hell.
Some people calling it an eye of fire, while others said it looked like the portal to hell opening up.
To be honest with you, to give this lecture is a nightmare. If it was up to me, I wouldn't. There's going to be some graphic details.